So the reason why I am so excited about the light today and the birds today and the songs today is because we're at a point where Mevlana is describing the state of mind. And he says it's a kind of drunkenness, but really it's sobriety. It's drunkenness in the sense that this world as we know it begins to fade away. The constructs of our mind no longer support physical reality. And yet we're here, we're grounded, we're present. And then he says this famous line, which I'm going to just say in a sense from memory, but he said, at this point, logic is from Satan, so to speak. Logic is from the limited ego, and love is from Adam. And what's Adam? Adam in Hebrew, he of blood. He of blood. And that's what love is. It's when all of this begins to take a back seat to this cosmic celestial emotion. When our very blood boils with love, when everything in us is focused on, oh my beloved, oh my beloved. When life and death have equal meaning, equal presence, because beyond life and beyond death, that's where love is. And then that love, that experience comes into our life here on earth, comes into our everyday life. And it takes a bit to integrate these two very different states. One, the transcendent, which touches everything, manifest and unmanifest, and which we so easily, a new version of not just physical reality, but formed reality. Reality in our mind as well as reality that we see, hear, taste, touch, and smell. It is sobering, but we think of sobriety as kind of a stern and sad state, or maybe I should say I think of that, or I was led to believe that. Sobriety, in this sense, is the emergence of true joy. Joy is the natural state. It is in the world of opposites that we become intoxicated. But in the world of unity, we experience joy that has no opposite. It's not something we cling to saying, I don't want this wonderful day to end. The days come and go, the joy doesn't. And this is paradoxical, in the midst of the joy, as a human being, we are experiencing tragedy, we are experiencing pain, we're experiencing the suffering of ourselves and our loved ones. And yet behind it all shines the sun of joy. How can that be? I don't know, but it is. But it is. I'm quoting now, the man of God is drunken without wine. The man of God is full without meat. The man of God is distraught and bewildered. The man of God has no food or sleep. The man of God is a king beneath the dervish cloak. The man of God is a palace in ruins. You know, we read this and we say, what does he mean? He doesn't mean anything. What is he expressing? Well, that's what we have to really find. To be a king in the midst of ruins, I remember once, the image is as clear today as when I lived it, and I lived it in 40 years ago, maybe 41 years ago. And we used to give out food on the streets of New York City. And we would go to people who were suffering, to winos, to people who had nothing. It wasn't a food bank. We made 200 sandwiches every morning, and we would just give them out. And I remembered once I had my sandwiches and I was crossing a street in New York, and I looked up and there was this little man. And he was maybe from India, Pakistan, I don't know where, but somewhere in that area. And I had my food. He didn't know what it was. He didn't know if it was kosher or not kosher or anything. And I offered him food, and he looked at me lovingly. And he was like a king, even though he was dressed in rags. No, that's not the food I want from you. And we stopped and exchanged a glance in the middle of the street for a real moment. And then I was a kid, I was struck by his immanence, his presence. And he just smiled and walked away, and I never saw him again. But that was a king in the robes of a dervish. Yes. Now, in the fire of the beloved, as Pir Vilayat says, there's no room for compromise. There's no, I kind of love you, It's either all or nothing. This is Mevlana again. There is a fitness, there is a wholeness in burning for love. As the furnace is burnt by the fire, whosoever cannot see this is not a furnace. And then he speaks about his soul. He says, my soul is a furnace. My soul is happy when it's burning. I'm paraphrasing. My soul is fulfilling its purpose when the fire is blazing. My soul has manifested all the way to the earth so that I can throw into the furnace everything, so that everything can burn, good and bad. And there's that famous line of Mevlana, enough of simile and metaphor. I want burning, burning, burning. This is what he's speaking of, the fulfillment of God's intention for my incarnation is to consume my limitation, and my limitation becomes fuel in the furnace of love. And what emerges is not smoke and not ashes, but something that we can call heat, the divine heat, the waves that are the divine presence. The divine presence. When all of you have burned up, I am what remains.